Hello, my name is Marianne McCune. I'm an audio reporter and editor and a big fan of Ear Hustle. And I just led an interviewing workshop for the Ear Hustle team inside San Quentin. The following episode of Ear Hustle contains language and content that may not be appropriate for all listeners. Discretion is advised.
Describe to us what a typical day was like for you. What did you do?
So we'd get up in the morning and I surfed every day. Sometimes we wouldn't even go to sleep. We'd be up from the clubs from the night before, and you leave the clubs at 2 in the morning and all of a sudden it's 4:30 in the morning, you're back at your apartment with some girls and they split and it's time to go surf. So we would surf every day first thing. And then by about 8 or 9 in the morning, you've had a couple hours of surfing in the morning, and then we'd go back to our places and split up for an hour or so, hour or two, and maybe clean up a little bit. We would ride our mountain bikes around town and just go grab a sub and play some pool downtown or whatever for lunch and head back to the beach. And then I would club every night. Anytime I needed money, I knew I could go rob a bank.
So this is a guy named Sparkplug. Do you know him?
I don't think so. I don't think I could.
Okay, so from his name, what do you imagine he looks like? Trick question.
A spark plug, so compact and maybe kind of high strung.
Yeah, exactly, but maybe more like full of energy.
Okay, that's what a spark plug does.
Okay, so today is all about Sparkplug. But before we get into that, I want to say to you, welcome back, partner.
Welcome back. It's been good to be back.
Yeah, right?
We've been gone for a minute, but we're back. We have 8 new episodes to share with y'all.
Yes, I'm really excited about this season.
Yes.
We're going to be doing a story this season about death row, going back there, visiting death row with guys who actually used to live there.
The row. Mm-hmm. And we're also talking about birthdays and how people celebrate them in prison.
And we're working on an episode about women who are in prison for DUI offenses. Yeah. And I got to say, Erlan, well, I think this is true for both of us, that story is keeping me up at night.
Yeah, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot. Don't forget, we do have our mystery episodes.
Yes, we do.
I'm not going to say anything about them, but, we got our mystery episodes going.
I know you've been working hard on it because every time I turn around, there's a meeting I'm not invited to.
Yes.
You're in there with our editor and our producer.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but today, before we get to any of those stories, we're going to kick things off with an episode about a guy I met in San Quentin at least a year ago. And Erlan, clearly you haven't met this guy because, well, you really haven't been able to go inside San Quentin that much lately.
Nope. I be having to go through a lot of paperwork. I got to submit it now, so, any day, the ball's in their court.
Okay, well, because you weren't there for this interview, I'm going to be telling you this story. Imagine it's almost like a bedtime story for you.
Okay, pretty much like one of our mystery episodes, so it's new to me,
Exactly. So I hope you like it. I'm Nigel Poor.
And I'm Erlan Woods, and this is Ear Hustle from PRX's Radiotopia.
And today on the episode, the story of Sparkplug. So since this is audio and people can't see you, can you describe what you look like and a little bit about your physicality?
Yeah, I'm about 5'7" and about 155 pounds. I'm pretty athletic, so I'm kind of slender and toned up. I used to be kind of blondish, and now I'm mostly gray. I got some tattoos and stuff, but nothing crazy. Just, I can put a shirt on, you can't really tell.
Your energy is pretty intense. You feel like a coiled something that could spark at any moment, but in a good way. You're a little fidgety.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, I think you have the energy of a much younger person.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Sparkplug's background is kind of unusual for guys we know at San Quentin. He's from Santa Barbara. He grew up near Montecito, which is a really wealthy town in Southern California. He had a young life full of opportunities. Can you just give us a little sort of snapshot of how you grew up, what your family life was like, and what the expectations were on you?
Yeah, so I grew up in Santa Barbara, and, I was expected to have good grades. My whole family, everyone's worked. I'm the only one in my family who's been in trouble. My mom back then was Jane Fonda's assistant. She worked for Jane. Jane Fonda had a ranch up in the mountains up by us. I didn't grow up super rich or nothing like that, but I grew up solid middle class.
When you were a teenager, what was important to you?
Oh, man, surfing. My dad's house was about 3 little blocks from the beach. I could literally just go out on my balcony and look across the 101 and see the surf. I would surf before school, and I would surf after school. I mean, I grew up on the beach. I was the guy that got up at 4 a.m. so I could be out in the water before the sun was coming up, get a couple hours before school. Then after school, if the surf was good, I was back at the beach.
It sounds like a pretty idyllic life. I mean, you had, it sounds like supportive parents.
Yes.
You had a nice place to live.
Yeah.
You were going to school. You had time to do what you wanted.
Yep.
And so I'm curious, when was the first time you deviated and did something that would get you in trouble?
I mean, my crowd was the kids from Montecito, and they're a bunch of real rich kids. And in high school, I started doing cocaine with some of these older friends from Montecito. So I was exposed to cocaine in 10th grade, and, well, really, that started the whole thing, because that's when I started getting in trouble. Crime creeps into your life because you're selling a little bit of coke to have money to do a little bit of coke. It gets out of control pretty quick.
Okay, in the 1980s, when Sparkplug was just a teenager, he committed his first real crime. Mm-hmm. A rich friend of his convinced him to go and rob her own parents' house.
She hated her parents, and she was like, hey, we'll just steal all my parents' stuff. It was a Montecito friend, some super rich chick. And so me and a buddy, we went to the house and just took a bunch of stuff, and that started the trouble right there. You start just branching out from that. It wasn't too much longer before the police got me, and they sent me to youth authority for about 16 months, something like that. I got out of youth authority, I went right to City College, and then had a couple good years. But during those years was when I started robbing banks.
While you were in junior college, you started robbing banks?
Yeah. Yep.
So, Erlon, when I heard that as a college professor, I was like, damn, is that what my students are doing in their spare time?
Remember, nobody thinks they're going to get caught.
So they can go to school part-time and rob banks?
You got an alibi.
Tell us how it came about that you robbed the first bank.
So my friend, really good friend of mine, surfer buddy, he grew up in Phoenix. He had a trust fund, and he was able to just live in Santa Barbara. And I met a group of his friends from Arizona at some point, and these guys were robbing armored cars out there. The first time I saw the money from the armored car, they've got, $40,000, $50,000 on them.
In cash, obviously cash.
In cash, yeah. And once I knew what he was doing, I was like, hey, I want to go. I want to do this, I just came to the realization, like, okay, I'm going to rob a bank.
So he figures, if I'm going to rob a bank, I need a disguise. And clearly, he didn't have much background in how to do this. So he ends up going to just like a regular costume shop.
The girl in the store is a friend. So I know this girl pretty well. And I go, well, I need a wig and a mustache. And so she takes me downstairs to this little room. So I picked this crazy big wig out, like an old heavy metal type, just a big hair type thing. And a little kit of mustaches with 8 funky little black felt looking mustaches. Super, super fake looking. I had a little a fake gun too. I had gotten a water gun that had the little orange tip and spray painted the thing. And as soon as you see it, you're like, oh, that's not even a real gun.
So this was interesting to me. Apparently, you can walk into a bank and rob it with a water pistol.
You can rob it with your finger.
Really?
You know what I'm saying? The whole thing is just a bluff game. They don't know what you got.
Right.
You just trying to bluff them like, yeah, I got a gun. You keep it wrapped like in a sweatshirt or under your shirt or you just something to point. You know what I'm saying? They don't have to see it. That's all it takes.
Amazing. So now he's just got to find a bank.
I wanted the bank that was the most hidden. You don't want the people in the bank to see the car. So I drove up to the Upper Village and I picked the Wells Fargo, and it was tucked way in the back of this little shopping center.
When did you put the wig and the mustache on?
Right before I got out of the car. And man, the mustache wouldn't stick at first. It's like sideways. And so when I looked at myself in the mirror, and it was just almost embarrassing. You know what I mean? You're like, look at me. This is crazy. This big wig. Montecito is like home for me, so I'm really comfortable there. I can walk around Montecito, and half the girls I dated are from there. So I was really comfortable up there. But I would have been embarrassed to have people see me with that thing on, because the way they would have been looking at me, I might have chickened out just from the looks, But I walked into the bank. and the bank had a long counter. Probably 4 tellers or something like that. The people were looking at me, and by this point, it's obvious that there's something not right. And so I just walked up to one of the tellers, and I had a little note that I had already written out. This is bank robbery, give me the money type thing.
That's literally what it said.
That's literally what it said. They probably thought I was joking at first. Then they didn't think I was joking, and okay, and they put all the money out on the counter, and I swooped it up. I didn't bring a bag or anything, and so I had tucked in the sweatshirt, and I had to just dump the money down. It was more than I could just fit in the pockets. It was, a pretty decent little pile. I think it was probably about $7,000, I want to say. But, it's a lot of loose bills, and you're just stuffing it down your thing, and then you're leaving, and you're just hoping no money's falling out. When I walked out of the bank, I wanted to run, just because you just did something terrible, and you want to get away. And so when I come out of the bank, I made myself walk slow, and then I got to the staircase and went down and got in the car and zipped off. An hour later, I'm back at my apartment. I've got all this money that I didn't have a little while ago. So the first thing I did when I got back to my apartment was I threw the money on the ground, I kind of played with it, and then I called my friend Jim, and I was like, hey, let's go get super burritos at Cuca's. They had this Mexican place on the west side we really liked. And so when he came and picked me up, as we're driving off, I just flashed him a bunch of cash, and I'm like, man, I robbed a bank today. And he's like, what? He goes, here? I go, yeah, up in Montecito. He's like, oh, man. He goes, bro, you're going to get caught. This town's way too small.
So, Erlen, I think the way he tells the story really highlights how sort of immature he is.
Right. For one,
Mm-hmm.
he's telling everybody what he just did.
I know.
Like, bruh, you might as well just call 911. Hey, this is what I'm about to do. And 2, I don't know, should I be over here critiquing him?
Yes, you should.
2, he's robbing a bank in his neighborhood.
I know, right?
Like, everybody know you. They put a picture of, oh, that's spark plug.
Exactly. So there's something like that's at once endearing about it, and also like, come on, guy.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody starts in that same boat. When you commit crime, you do it locally.
But what about wanting to tell everybody? Like, that seems like 101, like, keep your mouth shut.
Well, I mean, it's just like somebody's stealing a Snicker. They want to tell somebody, man, I just stole a Snicker.
Like Friday night, when I go into the club, there's people coming up to me going, oh my God, I can't believe you robbed a bank.
Yeah.
It became common knowledge pretty fast.
Yeah. Okay. There it goes. So believe it or not, he gets away with it. He actually gets out of the bank, and there were no consequences.
So he got $7,000.
Yes. His
roughly.
ego was puffed up, and he was ready for more. How long was it before you robbed your next bank?
As soon as I got low on that money, probably 3-4 weeks.
One thing I can say about crime and criminals is you don't study up on financial literacy. So you run through the money quick because you didn't earn it like on the regular 9 to 5.
Is it hard to spend it? Are you like, how am I going to spend all this money?
Hell no. It ain't never hard to spend no money. So the first time I had a lot of money, I think I was 15 years old. My brother took me on a robbery, drug dealer and shit. So, it was like, oh yeah, buying all the clothes you ever wanted, you ever thought you needed, Every day is Friday, you go on a spending spree because, it took you pretty much 2-3 minutes to make this money.
I'd like to experience what it's like sometime to spend stolen money.
We can go rob a bank, Nige.
Okay.
This would be a whole different ear hustle.
Totally. When you're describing your life, it seems to me you had many options.
Many options, yeah.
So it seems like you made a conscious choice to make robbing banks your career.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So how do you decide that, okay, I'm not going to go to school, I'm not going to pursue something, I'm going to become good at this is going to be my career?
It was such an easy thing to do that I didn't have to have a plan. I just knew I could go rob a bank anytime I needed money. And so it just became an impulse thing. Like if I needed money, it was easy to just go get it.
So is there anything more to the choice than you just wanted to have money and have fun? Like, is there something more there?
Man, I didn't want to have a 9-to-5 job. I didn't want to be tied down like that. I wanted to be able to just do what I wanted to do. It was just an easy way to have money. I grew up around so many wealthy kids that were Montecito kids or old world money, and I didn't have that kind of money like that. And all of a sudden, now I do. It probably made me feel like I was on the same footing in a way. I was able to just do what I wanted and not have to worry about the bills and live this really privileged lifestyle that didn't have any responsibility attached to it. I saw that around me pretty much my whole life because I grew up with all them kids that were like that. It doesn't seem like you're being that terrible of a person because your intentions aren't to go in there and hurt people. You're just going in there and hand them a note and they just pass you a bunch of money. You're not crossing certain lines. That lifestyle was captivating to me back then. I mean, I don't want to say I took pride, but man, I liked that life that it was providing me. It fit into this narrative of being this surfer that had money to travel anytime I wanted. I always had money to pay for beers and drinks at the clubs for any friends of mine, and if I wanted to go on a surf trip, I'd just jump on a plane and hop down to Mazatlan for a week. I could just do anything I wanted like that. I never ran out of money.
Did your parents wonder what you were doing?
My mom, she knew I wasn't working because I'm around town. I got this BMW parked outside, popping in, and there's an aquarium and a big, huge couch. You know, she sees it all, and she knew something was going on. She probably thought I was dealing drugs or something, but she did never broach it. I don't think she wanted to raise any issues with me, like create a problem. She had just decided, well, he's going to do what he's going to do, and she wanted to keep us close.
So during this time, he robbed something like 9 banks, all within like a few towns around Montecito.
Yeah. So basically, he done robbed every bank that's on the map in this neighborhood.
The first one, you're nervous, obviously. But I was such an adrenaline junkie, I was pretty good at handling that kind of pressure. So after that first one, it just became a routine thing. It wasn't even like that big of a deal. It was like a job.
Did you have to get more and more crafty?
No, it was surprisingly easy. If you go in there with a note and just go, hey, this is a bank robber, give me the money, they just open the teller and just put the money on the counter and you walk out.
So can we get the timeline? You were just robbing tellers from what year to what year? Just approximately.
Yeah, the early 90s. I got busted in 93.
Okay, so
August 1993.
And how old were you?
I was a month away from 21st birthday. Yeah.
So just to be clear, this is a very short period of time, right? He's like living this exciting life for 2 years maybe.
But do you know how long 2 years was?
When you're 18?
Yeah, when you're 18 and you making money like this, it seems like forever.
Can you tell it very quickly how you got arrested?
Yeah. So I had a girlfriend that was going to start college at San Diego State. The first Tuesday in Santa Barbara, they have a week-long party called Fiesta Days. And so when Fiesta ended, I flew to Mazatlan with my girlfriend for a week, taking her on a trip. So when we were in Mexico, someone was driving my Beamer around town and had gotten pulled over, had some drugs in the car, some cocaine in the car. They had a brief description of this car from a bank robbery in Ventura a few months prior. And so some detective is seeing this car going, wait a minute, this guy is from Ventura. They didn't have a license plate number, but it was a pretty flashy little car. So they got to asking questions. I come back to Santa Barbara. They were waiting on me.
So it's over. He gets arrested and sent to a federal prison.
Yeah, bank robbery, that's a federal crime. I think if you rob like a FDIC type bank, that's a federal bank.
So first he's sent to a low-level federal prison, but he starts getting in a lot of trouble, and he eventually gets sent to a high-level federal prison in Colorado and Florence.
Oh, Colorado? Yeah. That's the tough Fed prison. I think that one is underground.
Exactly. So he gets sent to this place, and for the first time, he's meeting really serious criminals. So let's get to your time in federal prison. Tell us what you learned there and what you didn't learn.
I learned all the wrong things in federal prison. These guys are all bank robbers and, some of the bigger criminals on the planet. And so all my role models were guys that were like doing armored car robberies and taking over banks, just in my mind, what I thought was the big, big crimes. I fell in with a guy named Patty Mitchell, and he became kind of like my mentor.
Have you heard of this guy, Patty Mitchell?
I can't say that I have.
So Patty Mitchell is truly a legend. His story is straight out of Hollywood, and you can look him up, and you should.
I will.
He's an interesting character. Apparently, he broke out of prison 3 times.
Damn.
He was a member of this group called the Stopwatch Gang because when they robbed banks, they would literally wear stopwatches around their necks. And then he and his crew would be in and out of the bank really fast.
I bet in under 2 minutes because they say that's how long it take from the time the alarm is hit. It take the police about 2 minutes to get to the bank.
So at this point, when Sparkplug meets Patty Mitchell, Patty Mitchell has a 65-year prison sentence. So he's not getting out.
Got you.
We used to walk every day, and he was like, he knew I was going home, and he probably wanted a protege. He wanted to pass along his knowledge and his legacy. Like, that's all he had, really, you know? And so I was a perfect student. And I can remember just soaking it all in, you know? It was like going to school. And I just realized, man, if this dude did it, I can do it. You know what I mean? And I wanted to be like Patty Mitchell.
So it was confidence that he gave?
Confidence, for sure, they gave me.
Patty Mitchell taught Sparkplug this really important lesson about robbing banks, which is this: don't just rob the tellers, rob the vault too.
Makes sense.
Because that's where the big money is.
Like, it seems like you can't get into a bank's vault. That's just a myth. It's just another door with a couple keys, and you can go in there and make them open that door if you go about it the right way. What he was telling me is you have these businesses like a Costco or whatever that takes in a ton of money over a weekend. That money builds up, and come Monday, an armored car service will come pick that money up and drive it to a bank. They wheel all that money into that bank. The bank signs for it. They take custody of the money. The armored car people walk out and they leave. Well, that money's already bagged up. So you go in right behind them and just pull out your gun and, hey, boop, boop, I want all the bags they just dropped off. They haven't even logged them into the vault yet. They're just in some little back room. And so he's telling me all this stuff, and I'm like, whoa, this is, you know what I mean? I can get $500,000 on a robbery. I can remember feeling like what I had done was really inconsequential. Like, I'm just a little chicken shit note robber walking with a couple $1,000s here and there. He'd get $600,000 here, and then he'd get $400,000 there. He told me how he was doing it. You get this knowledge that allows you to just unlock that puzzle.
What do you think he saw in you? Why did he want you to be his mentee?
It's hard to say, but I paid him a lot of attention, you know what I mean? He probably felt like I probably boosted his ego, really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really admired these guys for what they were doing. So I spent the next 7 years basically hanging out with these people and like picking their brains. I saw my next path.
I've heard about federal prisons and how sophisticated the individuals are, like the kingpins and all that. So I'm not too optimistic about what this next pass is going to look like.
Okay, well, you're just going to have to wait a beat to find out.
We'll be right back after the break.
So where we left off, Sparkplug had spent almost 8 years in federal prison, and now he was about to get out.
A free dude in society.
Exactly. And, you know, at this point, Sparkplug isn't even 30 years old, and he's got family support. He's got a place to live. He could get a job and just start over.
And not use the master class of the last 8 years?
One time I went down and tried to get a job application at some hospital right down the road. My mom was kind of steering me to look for work. And just the whole thing, right away, it just soured me. I could tell that this just wasn't my thing. In my heart, I still had all this desire to do a bigger, better round because I still hadn't lived up to these people that I wanted to live up to, like Patty. There's a path to becoming a legend, and I knew that path.
So just to get the timeline straight, you got out of prison, you went home.
Yeah.
How long did you stay home before you?
2 weeks.
And then you were back at it.
Yeah, I was back at it.
So Sparkplug was staying with his mom. You know, she was taking care of him, helping him get back on his feet. And one day, he just took off.
My mom's in the kitchen, and she's cooking, making coffee and just cooking breakfast and all that. I just stepped out with my bag and walked down the street and drove off.
You never said goodbye?
Didn't say bye. Nope. It was crazy. She probably thought I was just walking around the store or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's just sad for me now. It's like, sorry.
That's all right. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Sparkplug takes off for Arizona because he's got some friends there. He gets a fake ID and he goes back to work robbing banks. But Erlon, remember before he was kind of an amateur bank robber, robbing in his own neighborhood, telling people about what he's doing, wearing cheesy disguises? Now he's a professional.
I was doing banks in 4 different states. So every time I do a bank robbery, I'd have to travel to do it. I would jump on a flight. And when I would get there, the easiest thing to do is just go outside the airport. There's always limos hanging out or a town car or something that you can hire. And just tell them, hey, look, I want to be right in town. I'm not really on a budget. Pick out a cool hotel for me. After about 2-3 days, I would go get a Trader Express used car magazine. You know, they just have them in the little liquor stores and stuff. And there's usually a section that's like $2,500 and under.
So he buys one of those cheap cars, like a burner car, and then he just starts driving to the suburbs of whatever city he's flown to. He picks his spot, he parks the car, and then he just walks into a bank.
I would have a suit and a briefcase, and inside the briefcase, I would have a duffel bag rolled up. And so when I would walk in, they would think I'm a lawyer or something, because I'm not wearing a mask. At this point, I don't even care that they know it's me. I'd be like, okay, manager, I'd tell her I need to get in the vault. You know, don't hit the alarms. If the police show up, there's going to be a shootout. You know, hurry up. And I would just talk them through it. Manager, I'd tell her, hurry up. Let's go open that vault. Boom, boom. Tell her, take all the money out of the bottom drawer, none out of the top. And then while I was in the vault, I'd be telling all the tellers, hey, I'd take all the money out of the bottom drawer, not the top, and put it on the counters. I would take all the vault money into the duffel bag, and then I would just sweep all the rest of the money up into my briefcase.
But you're by yourself in the vault?
I would take the manager and the head teller into the vault with me. They would be actually helping me put the money into the duffel bag. One of the ladies was in the vault with me in one of the banks, and she was so scared, she was shaking, and she's right next to me. And I wanted to put my hand on her shoulder and say, hey, I'm sorry, like, you know what I mean? Because I wasn't trying to cause that kind of fear. Like, I was trying to get the money. I told her right there, I was like, hey, look, I'm not going to hurt you. Just the quicker I get this money, the quicker I'm going to leave. I promise I'm not going to hurt you.
How long from entering the bank to leaving was it?
I've seen 2 surveillance, you know, the footage from. One was 1:52 and the other one was 1:38.
He'd walk out of the bank sometimes with like $200,000. So Erlon, he was living it up.
Balling.
How was a day spent? Doing what you wanted to do. Take us through that.
Yeah, I mean, I lived at the Marriott. When I got up in the morning, 11 or so, I'd just get some room service and breakfast brought up. And, you know, I would always have a girl or 2 come over and hang out, and then we'd go shopping. And we were smoking pot, you know, all the time. And then it would always end up, you know, there's a couple of nice titty bars in Tucson that we like to go to. So we'd just get dressed up and go hang out at the titty bars every night. Yeah, really, I mean, that was all we did. And then when I needed money, I'd just fly to a different state for a few days and hit it back.
You always came back to Tucson.
That was my home was the Marriott on the campus of U of A.
Okay,
you know?
so how many? Do you have questions? Sorry.
I guess you know it's a guy thing to ask.
Yeah.
I started laughing when you said a girl or 2. Are you talking about like I know? Is it at the same time?
Yeah, of course, you know.
Of course.
Okay, of course. Yeah, I like that you talked about it. You started talking about titty bars. Tell me about these girls. Is it the same girls?
Okay, so Erlon, you know, we're doing an interview down in San Quentin.
Right.
Tom and Sadiq and Tony are there. They're pretty much quiet for this interview until we get
Till something piqued their interest.
Yes, and Tom was all over the titty bar conversation.
Yeah, Tom been locked up for a while.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, have you been to the titty bars? No?
I mean, I went to a strip club, but I called it a strip club.
Yeah. So the titty
He's a
bars.
little bit older than you.
Yeah, that's why I liked it. I heard it. I was like, oh, this is cool. Titty bar.
Yeah, no, they're cool, man. Like I always, when I was younger, I had a negative thing towards it, man. And when I finally cracked in, and the first time I went was in Tucson, I was like, man, this is pretty cool. It's a whole setup where you can go like to couches, and they'll bring you everything, and the women are pretty and they're nice, and if you're younger, they're kind of attracted towards you anyways.
Really, that's what all men think. They're attracted to your money.
Well, yeah, for sure. Oh,
Sorry.
Yeah. The more money you throw around, the more they're attracted to you. Absolutely.
So what happened to surfing?
Man, I was on the run, and California scared me. You know, I've got all these tattoos, and some of my tattoos are pretty distinctive. I just felt like I couldn't hang out at the beach like a normal guy. So I was hiding out, wearing suits out in the desert and missing the ocean for sure.
When was the last time you surfed?
This would be the last weekend I was out. I want to say it would be Easter weekend.
And what do you remember about the day being in the water?
Well, I didn't have a board, so I had to rent a board from one of the spots right there at the beach. And that's kind of like, man, that's such a thing. But yeah, I picked a board and I paddled out and it was fun. I was up by the Crystal Pier. It wasn't very big and it was a little bit blown out, but just to be out in the water, you know? I love it.
Was there any part of you when you were experiencing that thought, man, maybe I should come back to this instead?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I should have never left it to start.
How long was this period?
4.5 months.
So you knew this was a short-term deal?
I knew it was
Did
short.
you know it was going to be that short?
I was just like, okay, I'm giving up my life for this untampered fun where you can just do whatever you want. You know what I mean? You can just pull out $50,000 anytime you want and go do whatever you want.
Okay.
It appealed to me to have my own destiny in my hands. I'm just going to sacrifice my life in pursuit of my cause.
So, Erlen, we were, sitting around talking about his story, and this really curious thing happened. So Sparkplug pulled out this manila envelope, and inside of it was this old magazine. It was like yellowed and aged, and it had been taped together a bunch of times, but it was clearly something that was really important to him that he had preserved, like this artifact from his life. And it was a magazine with an article, a really long article about him that he really wanted to share with us.
This is from 2000, and this is the first one they did, and it was a huge story, 8 pages long or whatever it is, with a ton of pictures.
They're cutouts from a newspaper, the Santa Barbara Independent, and it says surfer, robber, writer, lifer. On the inside with Ben Greenspan, Santa Barbara's bank robbing son. And there's a picture of like a cute little blonde kid with long hair, smiling, big smile.
There's me in court. This is me in that Supermax, Colorado. And then this is something I wrote.
Okay.
That's me as a child. Probably me in high school. And, this is my...
That's you?
That's me.
I mean, looking at this, I think everyone in the room just got kind of quiet because there was something about seeing photographs of someone as a kid before their life had gone so off the rails. It was like we were seeing the possibilities that he had. And it made me think back to what he could be doing now instead of sitting in prison. If my calculations are approximately right, you spent about 28 months of your life robbing banks.
Yeah, if that, yeah.
If that.
Yeah,
How many months do you think it was?
Maybe 22 or something like that.
22 months robbing banks. How many months have you spent in prison? How many
years?
Yeah.
I've been in for almost 25. I got busted in April 2000.
So you've spent more than 248 months in prison for 12 months of crazy living.
I was 27 and I'm 52 now, and for the last 15 years I've looked at my life from a whole different lens, and it definitely wasn't worth it. That money was poison, it really was. I threw my life away for some sacks of money.
Prison is full of people like this. I was one of them, so prison is definitely full of people who are spending most of their lives in prison over some very short-lived periods of excitement and fantasy and luxury and dreams and, for maybe 2 months of living large.
Can you tell us a story about when you finally got caught?
I had flown out for Easter weekend, spent a couple days in San Diego, and then went up to L.A. I had some girls I knew from Vegas that lived in L.A. We just all kind of got together and went out that night. I can remember going to the Casbah, the Viper Room, and then we ended up at some fake cowboy bar on Sunset. Then we all go back to our rooms, and then the girls get up, they split. They got to go to school, UCLA. It's early, and I'm kind of like restless. I don't feel like going to sleep really. I'm not tired. And so I take the rental car that I'm in, and I end up leaving LA. I've had my fun. I was going to find a place to rob some banks.
He starts driving north, and he pulls off the highway to make a stop in Santa Barbara, which, you know, is like his hometown.
Right.
There's a warrant out for his arrest, and he doesn't know it, but someone actually recognizes him and calls the police.
Damn.
As soon as I'm on the freeway, I see one cop car come pulling up. But I don't think nothing of it. You know, I'm in a rental car. I'm not doing nothing wrong. I'm cool. You know, music on. I'm enjoying my... And then here comes more cop cars. And I'm talking about, you know, every lane. Shit. And then I know.
Like, how many cop cars do you think?
Every lane. At least 5, 6, for sure. It was such a strange moment. Because, you know, I knew it was coming. And I was prepared to accept that moment, too. I was, you know, I'd already made my mind up. I start driving fast. It becomes a chase. I come really close to swipe in the front of another car, and I do a little swerve, and I didn't want to cause a big wreck on the freeway. I wanted to get off the freeway, and I know this area, you know, and so I get off going super fast. I'm not looking in the rearview mirror at all. I go through the back of this parking lot of a mall, and I grew up right there. Like, this is just down the street from my best friend's house. I squeeze between a couple cars and run a red light. The police officer does the same thing. But I turn left on the first little side street, and I'm going a little kind of fast, and a car comes out, so I hit a curb, and then I bounce up the curb and hit a fence.
So basically, he's done. But Earlonne, he's actually ready for it because he had a plan.
I had decided I was going to make the police shoot me to death. But I always assumed it would be at a bank. At some point, there was going to be a time where there was going to be a police officer showing up at the bank, and then I would just, you know, run out the bank with the pellet gun crazy, and I would get shot 5, 10 times, and you're over. Boom. And all your friends in the feds are going, oh, yeah, he died a hero, and you live up to that crazy thing you wanted. We had friends that had gotten out and had done just that, and we celebrated them. We looked at him as like, oh, yeah, he died in a gunfight with the cops in front of a bank in Long Beach. What a good guy. When you die at the end, you don't live with regrets by, you know, lounging in prison for 34 years and having all these times to reflect. I waved my arms and I yelled, shoot me, and ran at the cop. And the cop just got out of the cop car. Excuse me. Oh, man, that's terrible. So I ran at the cop. And the cop got out of the car, pulled the gun, and shot me. I took a bullet through the leg, and it didn't knock me down. Sorry.
No.
Oh, man.
Sorry, I wish we had real
No, it's good. It's just super emotional. And I remember laying there, and I can feel the blood running down my leg. The paramedics like, where you shot? And I'm being an asshole. I'm saying, man, fuck you guys. And the cops are showing up, and then there's this guy standing on my neck, and I'm telling him he might as well just shoot me. I was so disappointed. I thought I was in control of the path that I had chosen. I just wanted to have this crazy, great, wild time, and then it'd just be over. It was part of the fantasy, for sure.
So I've heard you tell this story a couple times because I met you on the yard.
Yeah.
And I'm really struck by the way you tell the story. Mm-hmm. It's often very similar with even some of the same words.
Yeah.
And your body language remains very similar. It's like you're telling a movie, but it's your life. I just wonder what you make of that observation, if that means anything to you.
I mean, a long time ago, that would have been, you know, what I wanted people to think. You know, I mean, kind of like what I was doing it for in a way,
Yeah.
really. You know, I've heard the comparisons between the Point Break movie and my thing a bunch of times over the years, and, you know, to me, that's like almost an honor. It's cool. Like, you know what I mean? I could dig that, you know, to be able to be to be exempt from reality, was cool. It was fun for me.
But what do you say about that now, is the age you are now, and that still is kind of how you're telling the story, that it's a big adventure?
I don't think back at it like too often anymore because I'm not proud of it anymore. But man, it was fun. Not so much the 4 months I was out the last time, but prior, I have great memories from back then, because I was with some of my best friends who were around me. They were able to be in my life. I was able to still go to my parents' house and have a barbecue. You know what I mean? I was still home. And then this last time I wasn't home and everyone was brand new. And I don't really have too many good memories from then. And they were just so fleeting. It's like I threw my life away for stuff I don't even remember now.
What do you think, what were you really looking for?
Man, I was looking for recognition, fame and recognition. I just wanted a lot of people to have a lot of good memories of a time with the guy that just showed up and took a lot of people along for a fun ride, and then just one day he just disappeared. Just a cool legacy. I knew it wasn't going to last forever, and that was pretty much the best I could hope for right there.
Sparkplug is currently serving a sentence of 130 years to life.
Damn.
Yeah.
That sounds about right because,
Really?
I mean, the way it worked out, in California especially, is that I'm assuming he got time for his current robbery.
Okay.
I'm assuming under 3 strikes law or under California 3 strikes law, you would get time for that, and then you would get time for any other felony that you've committed in the past, and it would be enhanced by 25 years.
Oh, what about, could he have gotten time for the car chase, endangering other people?
He could get time for that because they'll look at that as evading. You get 25 years to life for evading, So he'd probably get out when about 170?
Oh my God. I mean, that is a lot of time. And it makes me wonder why that first federal prison stint he didn't sort of set him on a different path. What would have happened? How would have things been different if he hadn't met Patty? Do you think there was anything that could have happened in prison that you would have gotten out with a different mindset?
Yeah, for sure.
What could have changed?
I could have stayed about 10 or 15 more years and just got out when I was a grown-up. In reality, that's I would have gladly, right now, I would have signed up for 10 or 15 more years in a heartbeat back then had I known this was coming like this. But back then, they let me out when I was 27, man, and I went home from the wrong place.
Yeah. So more time would have actually...
Would have mellowed me out. Yeah, I would have come home grown up.
Do you ever fantasize about what you would be doing now if you had stayed out after the first time?
Yeah. I mean, I still fantasize about what I'd do now if I were to go home.
Yeah, what do you fantasize about?
So my stepdad's got some property in Costa Rica. Man, I would like to spend about half my year down there, babysitting his property, start a little dehydrated fruit business. They got a bunch of fruits down there we don't have up here, and there's a cool little thing you can get into. Could be that old man up the beach that's just did all this time for whatever, and boop, boop. Somehow it ended up where he's back on the beach, and he's fucking writing books or writing stories and just hanging out down there. And then I'd be up here for half the year doing a job or two for some money to spend the time down there. But that's what I'd like to be doing.
So say you're at the end of your life and you're going out. What will haunt you and what would be the optimal last visual for you?
I like when the sun dips behind the very last twinkle of the sun dipping into the ocean. That last little moment, that's a really cool time. When the waves are good and you're going over a wave and sometimes you can't see it for a second, then you go back over another wave and then that little light twinkles out and you're out in the water and it's almost time to get out of the water and go get something to eat, go.
When was the last time you saw that?
1993.
And what's the vision you would least want to go out on?
Man, I'd hate to see a cactus.
Why?
Yeah, because, man, I don't like the desert anymore. The idea blew in from the desert, and then it ended up with me out in the desert, and I did a bunch of this time out in the desert, and yeah, man, I need to get away from the desert. I need to be back at the beach. Nothing good came from the desert for me, even though it seemed like it was fun for a little while there. Yeah. Yep.
Well, this is the first episode of the season.
How's it feel?
Oh, we got 7 more.
But who's counting, right?
Me.
Okay, well, I don't want to give too much away, but I'm very excited about our next episode because we're going to have the world premiere of a new take on a timeless classic.
That's how you setting it up? A world premiere?
Yes.
Huh.
A podcast premiere. How about that?
Okay.
Happy birthday. Today is your birthday. Happy
What you laughing for,
birthday.
Nigel?
I'm so glad I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with us about our beautiful singing skills.
We're not trying to get a record deal. It's not nothing like that. I wasn't in the shower. I was in the studio with no auto-tune.
Yes, but let's just say when they tune back in, they're going to hear a different version that is going to have some melodious voices in it.
When they tune back in, are they going to be in tune?
This version is going to become, I predict, not just an earworm, but the most preferred birthday song of 2025.
Well, that means we got to put it on Instagram then.
Make a
That's the
dance
way
that goes
become.
with it.
We're going to let you dance to it,
Okay,
Nigel.
all right. You sing, I'll dance.
Okay.
Ear Hustle is produced by me, Earlonne Woods, Amy Standen, Bruce Wallace, Rasan New York Thomas, and Kat Schucknicht.
Shubnam Sigmund is our managing producer.
The producing team inside San Quentin includes Darrell Sadiq Davis and Tom Wynn. The inside managing producer is Tony Tafoya, and thanks also to Aristeo San Pablo.
Thanks to Warden Andes at San Quentin and Acting Warden Parker and Lieutenant Newborg at the California Institution for Women, as well as Warden Dela Cruz and Lieutenant Williams at the Central California Women's Facility for their support of the show.
Thanks also to this woman here.
I am Lieutenant Giamari Berry, the Public Information Officer here at San Quentin Rehabilitation Center, and I approve this episode.
This episode was made possible by the Just Trust, building a smaller, more humane engine of justice and safety across the country.
Earlonne Woods sound designs and engineers the show, with help from Fernando Arruda, Harry Colhane, and Darrell Sadiq Davis.
And Bruce Wallace. Music for this episode comes from Antoine Williams, David Jossie, Darrell Sadiq Davis, Bruce Wallace, and me.
For more information about the episode, check out the show notes on Ear Hustle's website, earhustlesq.com.
Ear Hustle will always be free. But if you want more Ear Hustle without the ads, sign up for Ear Hustle Plus. Subscribers get monthly Ask Nigel and Earlonne Anything episodes, and also the Where Are They Now episodes, where we follow up with folks who've been on our classic Ear Hustle episodes to see what they're doing today.
In our most recent Ear Hustle Plus episodes, we answered questions from listeners about Hollywood portrayals of prison, and we talked about your little babies, Earlonne.
Baby.
Your twinsies.
Ooh-wee.
And we caught up with friend of the show, Lonnie Morris. Subscribe at earhustlesq.com/plus or directly in Apple Podcasts. You can find us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and now TikTok at Ear Hustle SQ.
Ear Hustle is a proud member of Radiotopia from PRX, a network of independent, creator-owned, listener-supported podcasts.
Discover audio with vision at radiotopia.fm. I'm Nigel Poor.
And I'm Earlonne Woods.
Thanks
for listening and welcome back. You know what my favorite movie is?
What?
Big robbery movie?
What?
It was called The Dobermans.
Uh-huh.
And it was the dude trained like a gang of Doberman pitchers to go in and rob banks.
They did the robbing.
And he did it with a whistle. Like, look up Dobermans. And they have whistles. So they, you can't hear the whistles. They have one of them have a note, and it'll be like, we got a bomb or something, fill these bags with money. And so the tellers just fill the bags on the side of the dogs with money. And then the Dobermans will walk. I'm telling you, it was a Doberman gang.
Okay.
That was the name of it.
Did not know that movie.
Radiotopia from P